from the 2019 Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church. The bishop reminded us again and again throughout the week that our mission is to discover, develop, and deploy passionate spiritual leaders who make disciples of Christ for the transformation of the world. The bishop reminded us we are a Christ-led spiritual breath of fresh air that changes the world. I wanted to let you know that the delegates to this year's annual conference from the Little Canal District were Ralph Summers and myself. And the delegate from Epworth United Methodist is Louise Raines. How many statistics lovers do we have out there? Anybody love statistics? Good. Well, I have just a few. There are 1,044 churches in the West Virginia Annual Conference. This includes 52 counties. It does not include Berkeley, Jefferson, or Morgan counties, West Virginia. Instead, it includes Garrett County, Maryland, Mountain Grove United Methodist in Bath County, Virginia, this is in the Greenbrier District, and Independent United Methodist in Washington County, Pennsylvania. The West Virginia Annual Conference is divided into 9 districts. Our district is the Little Canal District. There were so many opportunities for worship during this annual conference. The highlight of the annual conference for me was the worship service led by Bishop Steiner Ball. There were opportunities for prayer and holy conferencing. There were daily morning outdoor communion services with the bishop. There were prayer and praise services, evening vespers led by the bishop, and this annual conference concluded with a service of ordination on Sunday morning. There were opportunities for spiritual formation. Our new Director of Discipleship, Leadership, and Congregational Vitality is Ken Willard. He brought us a powerful message on invitational discipleship. There were also Sunday school and International Bible study opportunities. There were 2 conference choirs, an adult choir and a children's choir, and they were phenomenal. These choirs were made up of people attending the annual conference, and it was such a blessing. We also had the voting and business sessions. We had reports on ministries, proposed resolutions. We elected delegates to general and jurisdictional conference. We had a report on equitable compensation, and we had reports on finance and administration. Pastor Ford took 30 buckets up to be used in the flood recovery for Kanawha County, and we took a special offering there for the flood recovery. And the United Methodist Conference has committed to staying involved in the flood recovery as long as it takes. What I've tried to give you is a brief overview of the highlights. Ralph Summers and I will be in the parlor at the conclusion of worship service for anybody who has additional questions. And we provided the slideshow because we wanted you to feel like what we felt to be there. So I hope you'll consider going to annual conference next year. And Louise will give you a report on the financial part of annual conference.
Thank you, Sandy. I've come before you, church, to report on the happenings of Annual Conference 2019. With the approval of Charge Conference last year, I was again asked to represent Epworth Church at Annual Conference. The conference was held last week, and we were there from Thursday morning at 10 o'clock and ended with the ordination and commissioning worship service on Sunday. In a concise review, I'll share with you my observations and some highlights from my 4 days in Buchanan, and I'm kind of repeating some of what Sandy said, so just bear with me. Pre-conference laity began at 10:30. Conference was called to order at 1:30 in the afternoon, with worship and preaching by Bishop Sandra Steiner Ball. Sacrament of Holy Communion was received by all in attendance. From this service, we began. We worshiped, we sang together, we prayed together, we celebrated Holy Communion together, we witnessed an infant baptism and remembered our own. Retirements were recognized and ministry honored. We remembered those saints who have passed on to glory the past year. Witnessed 16 new local pastors who had finished pastoral ministry licensing school at the ordination service. And this was the first time ever that these folks who go into ministry were ever recognized at the ordination service. So it was quite a first for the conference. Commissions into the Lord's service, 1 deacon, and commissioned the work of 7 elders. We welcomed the ordination of a deacon, and 5 elders in our denomination and conference became ordained elders. Received into membership 3 persons who transferred membership from another annual conference to be in our West Virginia conference. In the midst of all of this, God was there. He dwelt among us. His presence was felt. Business was conducted and intertwined with worship. In the midst of reports and recognitions, celebrations, and business which brought many lay and clergy members to take to the floor of conference with concern or questions, always remaining the strictest rules of order and procedure to question, comment, both for and against agenda items. These sometimes led to lively discussions, and at times it appeared our conference is still very divided, even after General Conference 2019. Election of delegates to General Conference 2020 and jurisdictional conference delegates were also elected. All required numbers of delegates, both lay and clergy, are put into place, and they're ready to assume their responsibilities as they go to those meetings in 2020. Along with alternate delegates in the event that an elected delegate cannot fulfill their duty, we used electronic voting machines for the first time, which it sounds kind of funny, but it worked great. They looked like remote controls, and within just a matter of 5 or 10 minutes, we had the results of the elections, or the no results of the elections, and we had a lot of those and had to continue voting. So, a new conference treasurer was elected. Jamian Wolford is the new CBO, Director of Administrative Services, and Treasurer of the West Virginia Annual Conference. He comes to us from the Attorney General's office from the state of West Virginia. He's a member of Calvary United Methodist Church, and his wife, Taryn Parsons Wolford, is a Jackson County girl. So we have some local connections now within our new conference treasurer. We had the opportunity to bid Jim Berner farewell and show our appreciation and thanksgiving for all of his years of service and dedication to the West Virginia Annual Conference. Jim brought the message at the memorial worship service, and it was a real honor for me to have worked for Jim for 8 years in the conference treasurer's office. Now, news by the numbers. Membership in the West Virginia Annual Conference at the end of 2018 was down 2,609 members. Average attendance in weekly worship was down 1,854 persons from 2017 to 2018. The percentage of fair share or apportionments collected declined in 2018 to 83.68% of those amounts that were apportioned to the 1,044 churches that Sandy mentioned. Total income from 2017 to 2018 declined 2.07%, or $1,370,000.56 was left on the table unfunded. Health care continued to exceed the income collected as expenses again for the second year took all the reserves, prompting an increase for the second year in a row in both apportioned money for the plan as well as a raise in premiums for those who are participating in the plan. An additional $425,000 will be apportioned through the churches in order to meet projected expenses for the health insurance, as well as will be added to the budget line apportionment for 2020, bringing the apportioned amount for health care insurance from $3,900,000 to $4,325,000. Premiums also will rise for all those participants in the health insurance program. $235 a month increase in family premiums for a total yearly increase of $2,820 and a $32 a month premium for single premium participants. Equitable compensation remained at the same level as it has been for 3 consecutive years, which prompted much discussion on the floor given the increase in the health care cost. And this is the fund that sets the guidelines for base salary requirements for clergy after the charge conference sets the salary. It can be raised to the clergy to minimum standards when the church applies to the conference for help, and it sets a plan to help raise the church ability to support a full-time pastor. And those pastors who finish PMLS school, those are the folks that when they leave and go into the churches for their first appointments are the ones who are affected by the cap on the equitable compensation salary. Board of Pensions, in compliance with legislation coming from the Special General Conference 2019, proposed a weighted formula by which a church who wishes to exit from the West Virginia Conference and the denomination must fulfill all unfunded pension obligations in order to withdraw from the denomination, and this too passed. It's a fluctuating number pertaining to the market at the time. The conference budget did pass after much discussion and questions. 2020 budget was set at $12,773,550, and it's an increase of $441,000. As you can see, our commission to make disciples for Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world will require much work. Only with God's help and guiding hand to lead us can we succeed in making these disciples. I want to thank you, the church, for giving me the opportunity to represent you at Annual Conference 2019. It's not my conference or anybody else's. It belongs to all of you people in the pews, because every decision that's made in conference affects the church, and you are the church. Thank you for your opportunities.